Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
It is February 24th, and you know what that means. It is time. It is time to say this is the last show of February. Next week, it'll be into March. I fooled you a little bit, didn't I, by saying it's going to be the last show. Hey, I'm humorous, I'm funny, I'm comical today on Talking Memphis Wrestling, Jonesboro, Arkansas, my hometown where the Randy Hill story began. It's 50 degrees, started the days in the mid-20s. It's warmed up a little bit, but man, I am ready. I am ready for spring to come. Want to say hello to PJ is in the house, and also Calvin Lindsay Jr. in the house. And I would also like to thank everybody for watching last night's Power Hour as we watched a great Power Pro show. And we're going to do that once a month, probably near the end of every month. So look for it on a Monday night toward the end of the month of March. Hey, this is part two of the greatest tag teams in wrestling in Memphis. And hey, we covered the heel tag teams last week. The heel tag teams will do the babyface tag teams. We have great video, including, I promise you, we will show the last sellout of the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, a tag team match in 1986. Tag team match in 1986. I'm fired up, ready to go. First take time, want to bring in man from Arab, Alabama. He's a master of radio. He's a master of wrestling. He's a master of horses. He's a master of everything you can think of doing. He's a master of doing play-by-play. Hey, I got to thinking because Michael fusses at me the introductions, and I basically think Michael's telling me you do the same old stuff every single week, so I elaborated. I put him over a different type of way. Hey, this is one of these days, and I can tell I'm with it now because earlier when we went on the air, live as live can be, I was stuttering, I was stammering. But then I said, man, I got to get myself in gear, and we'll get ourselves in gear now as we have MSJ on standby, and then we will have our buddy, the good doctor, coming up in just a few minutes. Michael St. John, how's your weather? How's your life? How's your day? How's your health? What is going on with my good, close, personal friend, Michael St. John?
Well, this makes my day because I'm on the air with you, Randy. So it's great to be here. Thank you for the introduction. First of all, I'm always grateful that I wake up in the morning. The first thing I say is, thank you, Lord, for giving me another day on this side of the grass. It's been an interesting day. It's been a productive day. I realized today that I have gone to more funerals since December 1st of last year than I have weddings in the past 30 years. And my dad used to say that when you're going to more funerals than you're going to weddings, you know you're getting old. So kudos to my dad for being absolutely right on that one. But we lost another radio icon in our North Alabama area, a gentleman named John Malone, who I've known for, 35, 40 years, I guess. He died at age 62. He'd had a stroke over Halloween. And they discovered some very serious liver problems in the meantime. And he passed away last Friday. And he had a large, almost as large as my friend Ronnie Shoemate's funeral this afternoon at the First Methodist Church in Huntsville, right downtown, a block from the square and a box from where I was born and raised. And that was the first time I've been inside that church since the baccalaureate service for our high school class in 1969. So to a man that to the community and a lot to broadcasting and my good friend John Malone. So that's sort of how my day went, but I made it. Had some Chinese food from Fulin's that my wife and I, this is one of our favorite Chinese places here in North Alabama, and it's down in the Priceville area and down in Decatur. And I was down in that area after the funeral. So I brought home some food and had a great meal with my wife. And we may have a special guest. He's upstairs right now. He came over to visit. He said he came over to visit Pawpaw, but I know he came over to visit Xbox. So if he can tear himself away from that, we may see him a little later on. But thank you, Randy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, I want to throw in, as you talk about the situation with your friend, we had, not in the immediate family for me, but we had a death in our family. My great nephew Corbin, his wife Ryan, her grandfather Kenny, and I think I mentioned it on the Power Pro show last night, but Kenny passed away last night, so I just wanted to call that out and ask for prayers for that family, and certainly Ryan, as always, ORH, Uncle Buh, Uncle Randy on your side and praying for you and your entire family. Now, for our second first take of the day, we're going to bring in the good freaking blues doctor. He's been cheating on me. He didn't watch my show last night because he was doing a Bigfoot podcast, but that's okay. I guess I'll forgive him for that. It's not like I pay my co-host a heck of a lot of money or any money, just like I don't get any money. But a pleasure in the past year to add as a fairly regular person. Also on the Randy Hill Show, he popped up Saturday. I love me some Dr. Robinson. I love Beth Robinson. I love all the Robinsons. I love the Robinson that's going to be soon to be before that long. I'm just tickled to death to welcome to Talking Memphis Wrestling for his first take, Dr. William Rusty Blues Dr. Robinson. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, guys. Randy, thank you so much. Hey, Michael, good to see you. And yes, it's been a little chilly here in Orange Beach, but the doctor has been busy this week. I was in New Orleans over the weekend, and then, as Randy said, I did another podcast last night as a guest. And then today I had to go to the eye doctor, which actually ended up being good news. My eye surgeon, for those of you who didn't know, I had a retinal tear for which I had surgery back in December. And the doctor saw it today, said everything's healing fine, and he discharged me. So that's all done with. Did a bunch of errands and stuff this afternoon, and then here I am. So I'm happy to be here tonight. Thanks for inviting me again, Randy. We do have to go, as Randy mentioned, back to New Orleans because we got another baby shower for our daughter coming up this weekend. So we're going to have another grandchild coming along pretty soon. So those are all good things, basically. So that I guess counteracts all the funerals everybody's going to.
I'm glad stuff is going great with you. I appreciate having you on this show. I want to say hello to my buddy Al Tuttle, to Thomas, my buddy Derek May. Actually, Adam's buddy Derek May is in the house. They were together for a funeral in Memphis this past weekend. Everybody's in the house, including PJ and BC Collins and a whole lot of folks on this show right now. Now, as we get everybody on screen, Michael St. John and Dr. William Robinson, we did part one of tag teams as we looked at the heel tag teams. Today we'll look at the babyface tag teams, and we're going to start off by something, and we're not going to show the first thing that I'm going to talk about, but Memphis Wrestling, tag team capital of the world, a lot of great tag teams, and the most unique, first of its kind tag team match that turned into a lot more than that happened in 1979. Again, we have played that to death, but the 1979 Tupelo concession stand brawl with the Blonde Bombers. The Blonde Bombers in action, and they were tearing that concession stand brawl down, tearing it all up in Tupelo, Mississippi with Lawler and Dundee. We're going to show two concession stand brawls today on this show. But Michael, I'll go with you first if you can. I don't know what in the world you were doing in 1979. It was after Robert Fuller left as booker and took his whole stinking crew with him, and Jerry Jarrett said, I got to do something quick. And that quick ended up one of the most memorable matches in the history, and talked about matches in the history of Memphis wrestling. So what in the world were you doing, Michael, in 79? And your thoughts as you saw it, did you think, what in the world is going on here?
Actually, I transported, as they would say in these days and times, from the Nick Goulas territory into helping Jerry out. And this brawl, I saw it, I think, at Randy West's house for the first time. If not, it was at Jerry's office. And the film, I mean, the unedited version of this was, and there wasn't a lot of editing done, I can assure you, but it was just incredible. And it just went on and went on and went on. And I just kept thinking to myself, one of these guys is going to slip and kill himself, because it was just a pure mess. But hey, you said it all, and nothing had ever been seen like this before. Often
imitated, never duplicated.
So it was pretty impressive. Speaking of pretty impressive, look who's here.
Breaking news, Joshua. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
What have you been doing? Have you been playing the game?
What game?
I thought you.
Xbox.
Yeah.
Xbox.
He came over here. You sit up in this chair so people can see you.
I visit you some. I can see you.
He came just like he said, he came to see me, but he's been living with Xbox.
Hey, stop it.
Stay up here, buddy. So anyway, this little guy, he's getting so big. I'll tell you, he's almost 80 pounds, and he's up almost to my underarm, and he's going to be a big player. And this year, you're going to play football, right?
No, next year.
No, well, that's this year with the come football season, right?
Yeah.
And he signed up to play baseball.
Yes.
And what team? You know? Not yet. Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to Xbox.
Okay.
Uncle Randy wanted to see you.
Good to see you, Joshua. Good to see you.
Sorry about that. He just pops in. What can I say?
Dave Shapiro says he graduated in 1979, and we're going to get Williams' first memories of seeing the 1979 Tupelo concession stand brawl.
Oh, I absolutely saw the concession stand brawl. When I showed it the first time on Saturday morning on TV on wrestling that weekend in 1979, and was just blown away by it. As Michael said, there never really been, at least in my knowledge, something like that before that had been shown on TV that was so raw and so, real in a sense. And just like Michael said, you kept waiting as it was going on and on and on. You kept waiting for somebody to get seriously hurt. In fact, you thought maybe it was going to be like a civilian or something, because there were people coming in and out. You saw them in the picture, like the manager and various other people walking in and out of this, out of the frame as the guys were fighting. And that's why everybody kept watching, is because I thought for sure somebody was going to get seriously hurt as part of this. So this really was just amazing as far as I was concerned. I obviously, as far as many people were concerned. So I just loved it.
All right, very, very good. Let's get everybody on the screen now, because I'm going to. Now, these guys can cheat because I do send notes. Some people read the notes, some people don't. That's fine. I would just soon nobody read the notes today, because I'm going to ask a question. If you read the note, you know what we'll be talking about. Now, the Tupelo concession stand brawl, the Blonde Bombers, and Lawler and Dundee was the very first. There've been a few after that, and one that we will show a little later on in the show, I think might have been the best. However, the most memorable is the first. The second one I'm going to show is from 19, and I'm going to get my readers on to make sure I do this right. It was from April the 1st, 1980. Now, Michael, any guesses at all what Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl number 2 was?
It wasn't in Tupelo, was it?
Yes.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
Was
The
it
first
was,
three was in Tupelo.
The first 3 were in Tupelo. So they rebuilt the concession stand 3 times?
Yes. Yes.
Couldn't get it right. I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess the Moondogs Dundee, maybe. Heck, I don't know. You got me on that one.
William?
I thought it was the
cheating.
Japanese. I thought it was the Japanese guys, Mr. Onita.
That was number 3.
That was number 3. Okay. I couldn't remember which one. Now,
So-
you got me then too.
All right. So, Adam, what we'll do, instead, I will give you a tip. The Blonde Bombers was in the first 2. The Blonde Bombers in the first 2. This video we're going to show right now, Adam, is 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Our microphones will be left on, and I'm not going to introduce it. Here we go. Here's number 2.
Okay. Dave and I was just telling Dave about the videotape that we're about to take a look at. It took place in Tupelo, Mississippi, in the sports arena, and we have seen innumerable rugged action brawls down there in the sports arena. This particular one involved the Blonde Bombers, Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham, going against the Gibsons, Rick and Robert. And it is not one that I am proud of in terms of professional wrestling. Well, the action speaks for itself. We'll let you take a look at it right now. Rick taking a terrific beating. Ferris, Latham have already lost the bout in 14:33 on a disqualification. Robert Gibson is handcuffed, courtesy of Danny Davis, to that rope.
As far as I know, Todd, the sports
And
arena
they
is
are
not
just
there.
beating the fire out of Rick.
Guys,
Robert
one of the
can't
most
do a thing about it.
underestimated
Can hardly
babyfaces in
defend
the history of
himself
Memphis
as Latham
wrestling
beats
that
him.
grew
Boy,
record
Rick
business
covered
in a single run with
with
Lawler
blood as
is
his
Rick
face has
Gibson.
been punched
He
around
gets
by these
forgotten
bombers.
about.
Referee trying to get them separated. He'll get one out of there, but there's 3 of them.
You guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
I would think so, and I think the fact that he was injured in a car wreck and sort of just disappeared off the scene probably is the reason. Because you're absolutely right, and I think had his career continued, we would be talking about him in the same breath that we talk about Dundee and Lawler and Jackie Fargo.
This was April the 1st, 1980. First concession stand was in 79.
Davis comes back at him and Rick puts him down, but look at
Bloody action at the Tupelo Sports Arena in Tupelo, Mississippi. I went to that venue one time, Michael. One time. Did you ever go there?
No, I can't say that I ever went there. Saw a lot of film from there and did some voiceover on film from there, but never was there in person.
Pounding on Rick Gibson. Robert still handcuffed to the ring rope. And Gibson being slammed around. Referee Paul Morton trying to break it up.
We're going to judge this and get our opinion on how this compared to the very first one. I can tell you what this one was missing is the shock factor because it had been done before.
Latham breaks the broom over the back of Gibson. While Ferris holds him, Latham again with that broom. He whacks it. And Rick Gibson taking a tremendous amount of punishment from the Blonde Bombers. Yeah, can't they get somebody out here? Yeah, Herman, see if
Referee Paul Morton,
They had
the
busted
father
Rick
of
open
Rock
in
and
the
Roll
ring.
Expresses.
Denny Davis,
Rick
the
Morton.
Bombers just pounding on it. And did somebody get him loose? Yeah, here comes Robert. He still has, they broke off one of the handcuffs, but Davis, here comes Rick Morton. And Davis slams him in the face and cracks his head down on the counter. Robert once again battling back over the counter.
Danny Davis was a great talent.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to keep everybody
He trained
away.
some good talent as
All the
well.
Bombers.
Yes.
Here comes Eddie Marlin,
Great
Tim
talent.
Lucas.
He can.
Handsome
Scott
Jimmy
Alexander
coming
saying
out
the
over
last
the
public
counter.
appearance for Rick Gibson
Eddie's
was
got
at
his
the
shirt
Night
off.
of Legends in
And it's
Smoky
turned
Mountain
into a
West
brawl
with Jim
as the
Cornette.
Bombers are now outnumbered. They start to take off, but they're firing.
He knew Eddie was getting serious when he took his
Nailing
shirt off.
away. Davis, Latham, and Ferris going, and Robert Gibson's going after him. And Rick Gibson left, bleeding and prostrate on the floor. Here comes Robert back to help his brother. Everybody around to try to help Rick Gibson. Okay, officially, and I guess
There's Handsome Jimmy.
Really
Yes,
doesn't make
sir.
a whole lot of difference. Officially, the
That's what
Eddie
14:33
Marlin,
is the
Handsome
time
Jimmy.
on it. By disqualification, the Gibsons will win. But that's a little
What's with the patch on
consequence
Hanson?
with a dastardly thing.
I think
that,
somebody burned him
they
or
did it. All
something.
right, let's take time out now. We're going to be back. Well, as we said, I guess it was a brawl, totally unnecessary. The Bombers taking advantage of a situation which they created. Robert, good to have you here today, man. I know it's a difficult situation and time for you. I saw
This is a
Rick
very
last night
early
after
interview.
the bout. And
Very
it was-
early interview
was
of
bad. I
Robert
wanna know
Gibson,
how,
April
How is he today?
of
How is he today?
1980.
How's his face and how's Rick doing?
Well, Lance, right now, it's really hard for me to talk. I'm upset. I'm nervous, and just
Well,
really upset.
Take it easy, partner. And how's Rick getting along today?
Well, Lance, I left him this morning at the motel, and I looked over at him. He don't look no better than he did last night. One eye is almost closed, and his over here it's sliced open. It really looks bad, Lance.
Yeah. I saw they busted that side of the eye right over there, and your wrist where the handcuffs were on you tore your wrist up real bad, and I hope that is going to be a situation that will correct. I know you've got a match coming up, and I just wonder, is Rick going to be in any kind of a condition to wrestle?
Yeah, Lance, he is. He's definitely going to be ready to wrestle. We always go out there and we try to win our matches. We try to go out there and not try to hurt anybody, just try to win our matches. But it's gone past that, and we're definitely, Ferris Latham, we're definitely going to try to cripple him.
Well, I can understand your feeling about that, Robert. It was one of those things that was totally unnecessary. And we have admired the combination. All right, come on now. Don't come in here. Just get out of here. You guys are coming up last. You get out of here, Wayne.
You got something to say to me, you say it to my face. You ain't
Andy,
got the
get
guts
these
to
guys.
The great
say it. You
Wayne
don't talk
Ferris,
through
the
that
future
idiot.
Hong Kong
You don't
man,
tell me
Michael.
stuff through that. You tell me something to my face,
Oh,
boy.
yeah. He could
But you're
talk.
so big and bad.
He and
you
Lauren.
He
do
was so
something, you
good.
do it
Yeah,
right
even
now.
back
Come
then,
on,
he
do
was
it,
so
boy.
good.
Get it, Wayne.
Don't do nothing. Don't tell me nothing. You show me, son. Show me.
Yeah, you're bad when you got 3 against 1. Yeah, you're really bad out here, man.
Yeah, I'm bad, but you ain't nothing, son. You're a gutless, spineless wonder's what you are.
right.
You're just
Take
like
it outta
that
here.
brother. You're
You
you're
get these guys
nothing,
outta
son.
here.
And you're not going to do anything to me because you ain't got the guts. You know that. You're a coward, Gibson. A coward.
Hey. Now, don't wait. Get somebody in here. Let's get these guys. Come on, Danny. Get somebody in here, please. Dundee and Morton, Regal.
Greg Morton, Steve Regal, and the superstar Bill Dundee.
Okay. Let's just take a break.
So this was
And we'll be
1980.
back
So Lawler
to,
was out
Championship Wrestling in
then,
just a
right?
moment.
Still had the broken leg, wasn't that correct?
Yes, he was out with a
Okay.
broken leg. Now,
Right.
Michael, we will throw it to you, and certainly you have in your mind the first concession stand brawl. Again, they had the shock factor, and it was Ferris and Latham, same team, same heels with Danny Davis against Lawler and Dundee. That shocked the world. This one, as I watched it, my feeling was that it didn't come close to number one. I didn't get much out of that at all. Your thoughts, Michael?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. And the fact that they had, it became 3-on-1 in the brawl. The other brawl was 2-on-2. And I think that made a difference. But they've done it so many times. You try to recreate the magic, and it just doesn't happen. And I think this is an excellent example of that.
How about your comments, Rusty?
Agreed. Just like most movie sequels are not as good as the primary or the original, I think this was the same way. They were desperate to try to get something going because Lawler was out and, the ratings were down, I guess, with Lawler out. It just was not as popular without him there. So they were trying to recreate something and thought, oh, okay, let's try the concession stand brawl again because that went over so well. And this wasn't up to that.
Right now, we want to go to third concession stand brawl that took place. This is a whole different cast of characters. This is, I think, very good. First of all, different cast of characters. It's exciting. It is unpredictable. And it's 10 minutes and 58 seconds. And that'll be the setup that I'll do for that match as we go back to Tupelo, Mississippi.
First opportunity of following all the action here on Championship Wrestling with Eddie Gilbert and Rick Morton to meet in the ring officially. Onita and Fucci took place in Tupelo, Mississippi. Right. Need I say more? Take a look.
Goes at the chin with that one. Makes the tag.
They're the greatest Japanese wrestlers of all time, guys. Fucci and Onita. Onita started his own promotion in Japan based on hardcore wrestling. Michael St. John and William Robertson, where do you think they first saw hardcore wrestling?
Oh, absolutely. This was it. I mean, Mr. Onita remembered this and remembered how well it went over and took it over to Japan and made a whole promotion out of it.
I remember when these guys came to town, and Tojo was very high on them. He really, really was very high on these guys as workers.
No doubt about it. And Eddie Gilbert was stalked in the eyes, Tojo Yamamoto. How many times in his career, Michael and William, did Tojo, when he was a heel, stalk in the eyes?
Oh, my gosh. I can't count. If I started counting tonight and kept counting tomorrow, I'd still be counting.
Yep, all the time.
I'll give you a little secret, though, about Tojo and the salt. The first time I ever worked with him when he threw the salt, it always made, when he would throw the salt, it would make a smoke, okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, salt doesn't make a smoke. And I watched him in the back, and he was preparing it, and he had baby powder. And he would put a pit of his hand full of salt and a pit of his hand full of baby powder, and then he would mix it up and put it in a little bag. And then when he would throw it, it would make the smoke, because guess what baby powder makes? It makes the smoke.
Right.
So it was actually half baby powder, half salt.
Yeah, that makes sense. Baby powder is much lighter than salt, so you can see it, floating up in the air when you throw it.
Both Rick Morton and Eddie Gilbert, this is probably their second year in wrestling. They put them together as a tag team, and this is the major angle. This is concession stand brawl number 3. By the way, the program with the Gibsons and the Blonde Bombers did not draw anything compared to the first one, and then we'll see the results of this one. This, even though Fucci and Onita hadn't been established too much, this one grew better than brawl number 2.
with it.
Tojo hiding under the counter. That's funny.
Oh, Nita's head busted wide open. Rick Martin slams a mustard jar.
Great video.
And he's yellow everywhere.
You got to get that mustard jar. I think in every one of these, they had the mustard jar explode over somebody's head.
It's not a concession stand brawl. We'll end the show today with the main event of the last sellout for wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum. That's coming up in the very last segment of the show today. Something to look forward to. This is bloody and gory, and everybody, Michael, fighting the heart out, and Tojo's involved at all. And this is crazy as well.
This is true hardcore.
Yeah.
So do you think Eddie Gilbert took some of this with him when he went over to ECW to start working there?
You know, it's human nature to take with you. I think he just didn't take this. I think he took most of the stuff that he learned in Memphis. That's just human nature.
Over here, Gilbert busting up. Yamamoto is Fucci nailed.
That's as much juice as I've ever seen Tojo get.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, in the last video we saw, I just didn't think Lance was as fired up as he was in the original, which he was surprised at. This one, Lance is fantastic.
There's Eddie again.
Did you see, and I was going to make a comment on the interview he did with Robert Gibson, how Robert was so low-key that Lance brought himself down to being low-key with Robert.
Right.
And that stole that promo.
Absolutely.
Now, who's the guy in the white shirt there?
The local promoter, Herman Sheffield.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to know, did Jeff Jarrett just recently do this in AEW? If he did, I missed it.
Fucci right below it. Fucci's ear bleeding terribly. Gilbert bleeding from both eyes.
For a tag team that's new to this country and new to this style, and for a babyface tag team like Eddie Gilbert and Rick Morton, they've never been in a high-profile situation like this. This is amazing. Now, Tojo attacking promoter Herman Sheffield, slapping him around, and you'll see in a minute one of the classic things of all classic things in the history of the world.
Oh, I think I know it. Yes.
That is Mrs. Sheffield.
Who was not smart to the business.
She came to help her husband and Eddie right there to make the save. Later on, after Herman died, Miss Sheffield ended up Michael marrying Dennis Hall.
I did not know that. Did not know that. Wow.
That's great.
Oh, man. Marlon in between.
Yeah, she was ready to take on those guys. That was so funny.
Martin hit him with a trash can flush. Eddie Marlin having no success in breaking him up. They're just totally out of hand.
And to tell you the truth, everybody wish that wouldn't have happened, because the last thing you want to do in a brawl like this is for people to laugh. That's the last thing you want, right, Michael?
Absolutely.
But it wasn't laid out this way. She just got carried away.
You know, I think the people seeing it live or, the next day on TV probably didn't laugh as much as we did in retrospect when we knew what had happened. When we knew that she was not smart and she just jumped in there. It seems funny now, but probably at the time when you weren't aware of that, boy, you thought, oh, geez, the women are jumping in there too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Morton caught him with that broomstick.
I think this gave more reality to it than the first one. The first one, as wild and crazy as it was, I just got the feeling that they kept elongating it or making it longer just to try to top each other as to what they were using and throwing and doing in the concession stand. Whereas this one looks more brawlish, as in just a plain old fight between a bunch of people.
I want to say
Like a
hello to
barroom
everybody
brawl.
saying hello to us. Crazy Gail Brooks. Gail, you've known me for almost 50 years, and you say, hello, my friend Randy Hale. My name is not Randy Hale. I hate that. I've always hated that. You know better, Gail. It's Randy Hales. It has an S on my name. Randy Hales. Gail Brooks. Dadgummit. As this brawl continues, and this is a long one. We got 2 minutes to go, Michael.
Wow.
Well, it's still wild. And they are using different objects. I mean, we've seen everything
Yeah.
with this one. There hasn't been a lot of.
Yeah, and hello, Crazy Gail Brooks from us too.
I've never seen such punishment and beating on both sides of it. Gilbert swinging.
Yeah, this is good.
On Fucci.
And the main story out of this is Nita took what he learned in Tennessee and in Tupelo, Mississippi, and took it and formed he took it to another level. He had exploding barbed wire matches, and that's absolutely, as my niece Amy Richardson, watching today, she did correct herself with Hales. And Amy, you missed my opening of my show today, and I asked for prayers for Kenny and for Corbin and Ryan and everybody in the family. And so make sure Ryan knows that I mentioned that. In a downtime for the show, I wouldn't say that in this wild brawl that happened in April of 1981 in Tupelo, Mississippi. Concession stand brawl number 3. First one 79, second one 1980, third one April 1981. Crazy Gal, I'm doing fine. I hope you're good too. As now Tojo, that was not easy for him to get out of there. As he gets out of that action, as Crazy Gal says, she was there for that event as one of the most classic things ever. And now we are going to compare those two with our panel. He is a Memphis Wrestling Announcing Hall of Famer, a Radio Hall of Famer in the state of Alabama, Program Director Success in California, in Nashville, in St. Louis, and in Memphis, Tennessee. And right now, he's going to dissect what we just saw and give his preference and comparison on the 3, even though we didn't show number 1. But your comparison on the concession stand brawls, this is my favorite.
Well, I understand why. I mean, it looked very brawlish. I mean, it looked like a barroom brawl, Pier 6 or whatever. But the thing about it is I really personally like number 1. And I think the key of me liking number 1 as all of them, even though I thought it went a little too long, I think the key was the shock value. The fact it had never been seen before. So I think everybody went, holy, what are we watching here? What is this going on? The second one tried to recreate the first one and fell on its face. Let's admit it. The third one was a brawl that was a brawl. And it has all the same action and a lot of more and better action, in fact, brawling wise than the first one, but it's still a brawl and it wasn't the first one. So I would still say the first Tupelo concession stand brawl with Lawler and Dundee and the Blonde Bombers, I think is my favorite personally. The third one, though, I think had a lot more intrinsic barroom brawling in it than the first one, if that makes sense.
That makes sense at all, and I would love to hear our audience opinion on that. I want to bring in Dr. Robinson so he can tell us his thoughts as we watch 2 Tupelo concession stand brawls here today. Dr. Robinson, our resident doctor for Talking Memphis Wrestling in the Randy Hales Show. Have we lost him? No, he's here. If we can go ahead.
I'm here.
Yeah, and right now, I don't know if there he is.
There we go.
Your
actually,
opinion.
interestingly, I did not see this in real time. That was April of 81. That was my senior year in college. And that was actually when we were on spring break, believe it or not. So I did not see this in real time, but I saw it years later. And I remember thinking about this and comparing it to the other brawls. And I would agree with you. 1 and 3 were definitely considerably better than number 2. 2, it seemed like they were almost trying too hard to make it look like number 1. And you can never capture that spontaneity that, the first time has to it. So it was just impossible. And then for the third one, is as if they realized that they really couldn't recreate number 1, but what they could do is make it their own. And they made it more of a realistic brawl, as Michael said, than 2 or 1 had been. So I would say 1 and 3 are both better than number 2. I agree. I think 1 has to be the best one, but 3 is not far behind by any means.
All right. Now, Dennis King is asking, said, is this the one that we just saw that had Anita in it? And yes, you're absolutely correct. And Dennis also say they beating the heck out of each other, and they were, but it was wild and woolly, and it was crazy, and just very interesting stuff. I'm Randy Hales, Talking Memphis Wrestling. Dr. William Rusty Blues Dr. Robinson is in the house, and the legendary Michael St. John. And I understand, William, that your podcast has a release date that has changed. It is now released on Mondays. What are you talking about this on the episode that came out yesterday on the Blues Doctor podcast?
Well, thanks, Randy. That is correct. We've moved our release date to Mondays. That just seemed to work out better for us. And we're doing an ongoing series titled Who Killed Healthcare in the U.S.? And we're talking about various aspects of how American healthcare is dysfunctional. This week, our question that we have asked is, do we need health insurance at all? In other words, arguing what are the potential alternatives to our existing system of healthcare in the U.S., or at least of financing healthcare in the U.S. Then next week, we're going to talk about, and this one will ruffle some feathers, should doctors and nurses be paid as much as they are? So this series is going to go on for several more weeks because everybody seems to be interested in it. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Very timely, by the way, Doc, I might add, with everything going on with our Department of Health and everything that Cabinet Member Kennedy is doing. I think it's very, very poignant. And things are changing. I mean, are they going to be permanent changes? We don't know. But the more I read, and I read in depth, but apparently there have been some cures out there to certain diseases that have been suppressed by gosh knows who, but I guess we're going to learn as we go along. And by the way, I do think there is alien life on other planets. So, for the record.
You and President Obama.
Very interesting, folks. I'm Randy Hales, Michael St. John, and Dr. Robinson. And it's a thrill for us to be able to get that perspective because I've said this time after time after time after time as the Watcher says, healthcare is an important issue, and it absolutely is. Wrestling fans are always misjudged. Wrestling fans, people out there think, oh, they're not educated, they're stupid, they're this and that, they're trailer park trash. Folks, Michael St. John, very successful, legendary broadcaster. I have a pretty good resume behind me, too. And Dr. Robinson is a freaking doctor. So that spells that.
Randy, let me add something here.
Go ahead.
If you were in the national championship for football and you lose the game, the losing coach, okay, you're called an idiot. But if you're in medical school and you finish last in your class, they call you doctor.
That's right.
Lou Holtz said that at a speech I was at one time. I couldn't get over it. So just keep that in mind.
Funny. Rusty laughed, so he didn't take that personal.
Absolutely.
I guess he's heard that before. Certainly. Very interesting, and I like doing this on this show. The best babyface tag teams, we'll run through the picture section of this show pretty dadgum quick. We have some more video coming up. I want to start with 5305, then Adam will go, we will certainly go one after another out of that, and here to describe this tag team because of the fact that they were more over on Nick's end than Jarrett's end, and I never did Nick's end, I just did Jarrett's end. So here to talk about, give you a little history, but how, we've talked about them before, but how much money they drew, how over they were that sort of thing. Here's Michael St. John.
First mixed tag team in the history of the Southeast that I'm aware of, and certainly in the Nick Goulas territory and in the Nick Goulas, Roy Welch territory. Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown actually started out being Dennis Hall and Bearcat Brown, and then Lynn Rossi and Bearcat. And the town that they were the biggest over absolutely was Birmingham, but they were huge in Chattanooga. They were big in Birmingham, in Huntsville, and Nashville as well. But a great tag team. Lynn was the consummate worker, and Bearcat Brown was just big and could drop that leg, and people would go crazy. And so good stuff with Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown.
Quick thoughts, any memories of Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown, Dr. Robinson?
No, I think you're exactly right, Randy. We saw them in Memphis, Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown, a handful of times, but they were never really figured into the main event level, in my memory at least. So they must have been bigger in the other side of the territory than in the Memphis side.
If I could add something.
Do what, Michael?
If I could add something to that, I think, Doc, you're right on the money, is the fact that I think Memphis wrestling was integrated long before Birmingham and Nashville and Chattanooga was, because you go back to the Sputnik Monroe days in Memphis, and there were some black athletes that were in the ring in Memphis with white competition. And that was long before, and when I say long before, 2 or 3 years before Rossi and Bearcat, or Dennis Hall and Bearcat, teamed up on this side of the territory. And I think that may have lent to the fact that Lynn and Bearcat perhaps were not as much over in Memphis as they were in the rest of the territory.
Now, Michael, we have a question from Eye of the Watcher. I would not know this, and so we're going to put it on you. Then I have an additional question, too. The Watcher is asking, how old were they in that picture? Can you make a guess?
I want to say this picture is 69, maybe 70. So I'm to venture a guess, I would say Bearcat was in his 40s and probably Lynn as well.
I know in later years that Lynn Rossi served as a booker for Nick Goulas. Of course, Jerry Jarrett did it in the Memphis end, and Nick had very little involvement in the booking. How it went in Birmingham and Chattanooga, I don't know how hands-on Nick was. I don't see Nick giving complicated finishes. Do you know in this era of Bearcat Brown and Lynn Rossi who the booker was?
I want to say Lynn had a lot to do with it if he wasn't the booker in this end, because after this picture, I think Lynn had his car wreck 2 years later. After this was maybe 3 years later after this happened, or after this picture was taken. And then Lynn became an announcer for Nick before he started, doing the booking. But I think Lynn was involved in the office. I know George would probably know, but I also want to say that I think Saul Weingroff had a lot to do with the booking in this period as well. So, or at least was in Nick's ear. But remember, Roy Welch was still active at this point. So, probably Roy's in the mix as well.
I know Roy took care of Memphis until Jerry Jarrett took over. 5304 is our next picture that we want to go to right now. And this is from one of the first wrestling magazines they did, the Wrestling Review, new sensation, Rossi and Brown. And back in the day, Michael, this was a big, 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 big deal to be on the cover of the Wrestling Review, especially when national wrestling magazines almost exclusively went with New York talent because that was the biggest market in the world. How important was this?
Oh, this was huge. And you're absolutely right. I remember buying some of those wrestling magazines, and I actually had this one at one point somewhere. But I mean, look at the talent that's on the balloon captions at the bottom. You got Killer Kowalski, you've got Jessica Rogers, you got Sandy Starr. Those are all Red Bastien, Red Lions. Those are all stars outside of this area. Baron von Raschke is up there. Angelo, I can't see his last name there. But those are stars outside the South. For anybody from this part of the Mid-South, the Memphis, Nashville area to even be featured on a national magazine, even for a little article, was almost non-existent. And I always wondered, and I never got an answer as to so many of these stories that were submitted to these wrestling magazines, or they called them rags back then, were propagated from the promoters themselves, that they would literally send an article with pictures and, ask the editors to, consider running this in the magazine. You would see Kansas City, you'd see St. Louis, you'd see Chicago, you'd see New York, you'd see some other Midwestern cities, but you rarely saw anybody from the South. Maybe Florida, maybe, but very, very seldom anybody from the Deep South.
Adam is pointing out this was from December of '69. Michael.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought this was 69. And that other picture dates back to about that same period.
Very cool stuff. Right now, the next
By the way, in that small picture, the Olympics hot night, isn't that Freddie Blassie?
Yes, it is. Classy Freddie Blassie.
Now, was this magazine, was that considered one of the after mags, or did that precede them?
It preceded it. It's the first wrestling magazine. Michael, correct me if I'm telling something wrong, but it's the first one that I'm aware of. It's the first one I didn't buy, but somebody bought for me.
Well, you had there was a magazine out called Wrestling Illustrated, which was very similar in content and coverage cover to this. There was also the two ring magazines. There was the Ring Boxing and the Ring Wrestling magazine, which had something to do with the Sporting News. I don't know if the Sporting News distributed them or owned them or whatever, but the Ring Boxing magazine was the magazine for years that the rankings for the heavyweight championship was considered. That was the primary rankings. So these magazines, this in particular in Wrestling Illustrated, I think were a little bit more picture friendly, if you would.
Next picture, we're going to go with 4306, and I did this for a reason. I have a method to my madness in this picture. This is Jerry Jarrett. This is the Honorable Imperial Tojo Yamamoto. This is the third member here in this picture, is often imitated, never duplicated, the fabulous Jackie Fargo. The reason I put this picture in here is I think you can't separate them, because at times, and the most overdrawing tag team in the history of Louisville, Kentucky was Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. You also had Jerry Jarrett wrestling, teaming with Jackie Fargo. You had, of course, Tojo and Fargo. So, Michael, do you agree with me? You can't leave out one person here. You have to include, because between the three of them, they had money-drawing feuds with Lawler and White, money-drawing feuds with the Von Brauners, money-drawing feuds with the interns, and the Greens, the people we talked about last week. Do you agree you can't have two without showing the third?
Inseparable. Absolutely. And of course, you remember the pen and ink drawing that Jerry Lawler did of these three after a match where they all are battered and bruised that hung on Jerry Jarrett's wall in the office. But you're right, you can't separate it. Whatever happened to white belts?
I don't have one.
I haven't had one in many years.
I had one in that era, which was about my college days, and I had one that looked pretty much like that one. But I got rid of it very quickly.
Now we're going to take this show down a peg, but a very important thing to talk about for sure is 5309, 5309, and this is, of course, Jerry Jarrett. We lost Jerry Jarrett on Valentine's Day 3 years ago, and certainly there would be no Talking Memphis Wrestling, no Memphis Wrestling that would have been held at such high esteem than it is without Jerry Jarrett. And do you certainly agree with that, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. He was the mastermind behind all of it. And the thing about Jerry is Jerry was a thinking man's promoter, and he knew how to touch people's emotion. That real life incidences and stories attracted that emotion. The emotion in the wrestling, you can take a real life event and turn it into a wrestling angle, and it was going to draw money. And Jerry knew that full well.
Now, as we go over to Dr. Robinson, I kind of skipped over the fact the Tojo Fargo Jarrett picture. Do you agree you have to include all three of them on that tandem? And also your thoughts on the Jerry Jarrett story that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that always struck me about the relationship between those three, it started out that Tojo obviously was a heel for many years, the Japanese guy, and we fought World War II and all that. But Jerry Jarrett was the ultimate babyface. He's a good-looking guy, young guy, blonde hair, all of that stuff. And then Tojo comes out to save him in the end, and it's revealed that he's like Jerry's mentor. And, that suddenly they are all together. And it was a great way of telling that story and of putting them all together like that. So that, as you said, again, that was a way of Jerry telling a story that very few other people could tell in that fashion. So yeah, I'm very much a fan of the Jerry Jarrett School of Wrestling, if you want to call it that. I think he had more insight into the psychology of wrestling fans than virtually any other promoter who was out there.
All right, very good. And we're going to skip to the next picture, and it's 5313. This is Doug and Eddie Gilbert. We'll come back to the entire Gilbert family in a few minutes. So right now we want to go to the next picture, which is 5314. 5314. This is my first favorite tag team. This is Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Marlin. Thoughts on Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin, Dr. Robinson?
Oh, they were a great tag team. We loved those guys. Eddie just, he did not have a great physique. He's a big guy, but he did not have a great physique, really. But you just had the impression this was a guy you didn't want to mess with. He just had that aura of being a tough guy, even though, he wasn't like a bodybuilder or anything. And Tommy was somewhat the same way. Tommy wasn't quite as big as Eddie, but he still seemed like the kind of guy that you wouldn't want to mess with. So yeah, I absolutely loved the team of Tommy and Eddie.
They won the Southern Tag Team Championship. They had a money feud with Jim White and Jerry Lawler, money feud with the Bounty Hunters, money feud with a lot of people. And I know these are two guys that Michael St. John respects and cares about. Michael St. John, Eddie Marlin, my man, my mentor in the wrestling business, and Tommy Gilbert. Your thoughts, Michael?
Great tag team, without a doubt. Pure wrestling, without a doubt. Technicians that knew the match, technicians that could sell, technicians that could tell the story in and out of the ring, good interviews. I had the chance of working, of course, with Eddie when he was promoter, Eddie Marlin, if you would. And I remember him, of course, as a referee in his early days. But two tremendous wrestling families, if you would, with the Gilberts and the Marlins.
No doubt about it. And we will certainly talk more about the Gilberts a little later on this show. Now we go right ahead to the next picture, and we talk about these guys so much. Former AWA World Champion Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Next picture is 5316. And this was in 1976, 1977. This is the superstar. Maybe a year or so after he switched babyface, maybe 2 years. Soul Man Rocky Johnson and the superstar Bill Dundee. Michael, do you remember them as a team? And they were riding partners. You couldn't see one without the other. No doubt about it. And this was a good team. Dundee and Rocky, Michael.
Indeed, and that's backstage at the Mid-South Coliseum with the that tile wall there. And I think Bill at this point was pretty juiced up as well. But this was, I remember this, and of course I was in Memphis about the time this picture came out, programming at WMPS. And I remember when Bill looked like that. And then when I ended up moving to Hendersonville, Tennessee, Bill was the next block over and 3 houses down. And my son and Jamie played many a time in both of our houses.
Interesting stuff. Rocky and Bill Dundee, were you going to the matches when they were a tag team, Doctor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were fascinated with Rocky Johnson. You know, I remember when he challenged Lawler, we thought, oh man, this guy, he could actually beat Lawler. You know, whereas most of the time you thought, oh, he's a heel. Lawler will take care of whoever it was. But you really wondered if this guy, and they billed Rocky Johnson as a boxer. And like, I want to say they billed him at some point as a sparring partner with Muhammad Ali, so that he was coming in as this great professional, real fighter. And you just wondered, it was perfect. They planted the seed in the fans' minds that, gosh, Lawler may not be able to take this guy. So it was a great setup.
Next
You know, I remember Rocky Johnson doing the Ali shuffle. Do you remember that in the ring when he'd all of a sudden break into the Ali shuffle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And George Foreman is the boxer that Rocky Johnson trained with. And when they brought him in, they showed that video of the sparring session. 5317 is the next picture right now. And all I'll say on this, if you look at the history of Memphis wrestling, great successful money drawing tag teams also had feuds. And certainly Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler had a great feud, including the hair versus hair cage match. Lawler and Idol together was great. And let's go with the next picture, Adam. This is the Gilbert family. And just to see if I got this numbered right, go with the very next picture. Okay, I have it numbered wrong. Back to the Gilberts, and we'll go with that. TNT is Dynamite, and a young picture of Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Gilbert, a picture of Tommy Gilbert looking like Burt Reynolds, and then probably in '89, or maybe even later than that, Eddie Gilbert, Doug Gilbert, early in Doug Gilbert's career, and Tommy Gilbert. We'll start first with Michael St. John, the Gilbert dynasty.
Well, I'll tell you, Tommy, Tommy Gilbert was a little undersized, even as the smaller wrestlers in the Mid-South Territory and in the Gulas-Welch Territory went. But he was one of the tough guys. I mean, Tommy was gritty in the ring. He could sell, he could move. And, of course, his two sons. It's always a legacy in my mind. It's always very, very important to me that the next generation exceed the preceding generations greatest accomplishments. And as one in broadcasting, unfortunately, I don't have, neither of my kids have fallen in the footsteps, one being a nurse, one being a football coach, and that's fine and dandy. But when you were raised in a family in a career-driven profession, and the second generation is greater than the first, and then you look at the third generation coming on doing better than the second, that's very, very special. And I think Tommy's blazed the trail, and after that, I think Eddie and Doug really did him proud.
We're looking at the great babyface tag teams, and right now we're looking at the Gilberts that were both heels and babyfaces. Quick thoughts on the Gilberts, Rusty?
I always thought Eddie was kind of the brain of the bunch. Not that Tommy and Doug were not, smart to the wrestling business and creative and clever, but Eddie was maybe a level above that. He was so sharp in creating things, I always thought. And I was, in retrospect, disappointed that he died so young.
I think Eddie took after his mom. I mean, even his looks. I think Eddie Gilbert had a lot of his mom in him. And his
I agree with that. Rest in peace, Peggy Gilbert. Next picture,
Amen.
and I snuck that in accidentally. You can't show the fabulous ones, Stan Lane and Steve Kern, in a Memphis-related show without talking about the person that put them together. That was the mentor that helped get them over, the fabulous Jackie Fargo. Stan Lane and Steve Kern, Dr. Robinson.
Oh man, the fabulous ones. I think I've told one of my fabulous ones stories on here. The fans were so popular, particularly with the ladies. And the female attendance at the Coliseum, rose dramatically when the Fabs were there. In fact, I remember one time we were in Memphis, and the wrestlers used to go to what was called the Admiral Benbow Inn on Union Avenue, just right there at the freeway, and would stay there. And the Admiral Benbow would allow people to come and be in their swimming pool just like for the afternoon. You pay like $10 and come and swim in the pool. So some of the family and I went over there and we're swimming in the pool, and we saw this van pull up to one of the rooms at the Admiral Benbow, and the Fabs got out, and this parade of cars with women in them kept coming in and out of the Admiral Benbow like every 15 or 20 minutes, it seemed like, going into the Fabs room. So it was then that it kind of clicked that, oh, that's what it is about the Fabs. Now I get it. So yeah, those guys were great. I just loved them.
What can you say more, Michael, about the fabulous ones and Dr. Robinson? Right, because man, that took the level. I can't name anybody in the history of Memphis wrestling that brought the level of women attending the matches up more than Stan and Steve. Do you agree with that, Michael?
Absolutely. And Stan Lane dated my secretary at Kicks 104, just for the record.
Hey, that is,
and she was a looker.
That is good. I won't ask you if you ever dated her, Michael, because you might have been married at the time.
Well, I was, and no, I didn't. But in fact, my ex found her and suggested I hire her. So that was that eliminated any hanky panky right there. But no, she lives over in Cedartown, Georgia now, and with her husband. But yes, she dated Stan Lane back in the day. And is he still doing the stuff with the powerboat racing group out? I know he was doing a lot of. I would see him on some of the ESPN channels with that powerboat racing stuff. He was a commentator.
As the announcer, he was doing that, but as far as I know, he's not anymore. But he had a good voice and great. And Adam Dunn, Michael, I don't know if you know this or not, he lives next to Cedartown.
Yes. I'm aware of that. He lives over in Cape Springs. Yes.
Yes, for sure. Then we want to go with the next picture. And we talked about them earlier. A great tag team. Rick Gibson, the veteran. Robert Gibson, the young guy. You can tell how young Hoot is right here in this picture. We want to go to a match from September of 1981. This is rather lengthy, but I thought it would be good to show that. I am going to have to look myself to see the time on this. It's 13 minutes and 8 seconds. This is brother team Rick and Robert Gibson against the Nightmares as we watch right now on Talking Memphis Wrestling with Doc, Michael, and good ORH.
Coming up here, the Nightmares with, looks like Chick Donovan is going to serve as their manager today, too. They step up onto the ring apron, and referee Jerry Calhoun.
I wish Pat was here. He always talks about Chick Donovan, Michael.
This will be an expiration of time match. Team with the most falls to their credit for the time expires to be the winners of the match. Introducing at a total weight of 424 pounds. With their manager, Chick Donovan, the Nightmares. And
obviously this is labeled wrong. This is labeled wrong, even the video font. This is not Rick and Robert Gibson. This is Dutch Mantell and Robert Gibson. So the video was labeled the Gibsons against the Nightmares. The video font, so does that tell you, Michael, that Rick Gibson was a last-minute no-show?
This may have been around the time he had his accident.
On this expiration of time match, it is the team
with
the most falls. When we run out of time, we still got lots of action time left today, Dave. And
that should really work. That's one thing. And look how quick he was. I always like that about Dutch. He was just very, very quick. He could really work.
Two matches, half crab, but the
February 24th, the last show of February of 2026. We're taking a look at Memphis' greatest tag team. This is part 2 of our series.
Half crab or on a full Boston crab is to be all the way back up where
a lot of wrestling here.
Part of the spine. Robert Gibson covers up. 1 count.
And I like that.
Absolutely. It's not just a bunch of series of high spots and circus acts.
No. Appreciate everybody watching Talking Memphis Wrestling from Thailand.
Substitution to repeat.
Everywhere else. Richard Hood is in the house. And hello to us, me and Michael, and also to Dr. Robinson. Corporal Porter is in the house, and a lot of people watching Talking Memphis Wrestling again. Not only all over the country, we have people across the ocean in another country. Where in the world does PJ live? I've said it a million times. Thailand, yes. Had a brain fart.
And thank you to her for the nice little heart and acknowledging my grandson Joshua. We picked out the last time he was on the show and PJ was from Thailand. He wanted to know where that was, and I had to get his little globe out, and we had to show him. And he said, "Oh, that's on the other side of the globe." I said, "From our area, yeah, it is."
Guidance in the corner is the golden
Richard Hood says Chick Donovan should have gotten a better push in wrestling than he did. He was not great in the ring. He was also not real dependable, and he didn't stay in one place too long. And that probably answers why Chick wasn't around for very long runs, would you say, Michael?
Yeah, the other thing, I don't think he was very popular in the locker room either. He always, there was a lot of camaraderie in the locker rooms, but when Chick was around there, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of interaction with him.
Do you remember when, by the way, Al Pollard, my friend who bought the Living the Dream Randy Hills book, says hello from the west coast of Arkansas, Fort Smith. I appreciate you watching. Chick Donovan, guys, used to put gold glitter on his body. That would come off and get on other wrestlers. And Michael, that was a big reason the boys didn't like working with him.
Yeah, I remember that now that you mentioned that. I do remember that.
Sounds like Donovan is calling plays down here from time to time. Just before that, I heard him yell at one of the Nightmares.
Your thoughts on this match, Rusty?
I don't know what 912 was.
Oh, yeah, the Nightmares are terrific. You know, and you put them together with Dutch, and that's Robert Gibson, I believe, over there. And boy, you can't ask for much better in terms of tag team wrestling than these guys. Dutch could do it either. He could do single, he could do tag team, he could do anything.
You know, it always amazed me. There were certain teams that would get put together at the last minute. Somebody not showing up, somebody getting hurt, somebody missing gig, and they'd make a substitution.
Chase, you missed it a little
And it was
earlier
really
today,
funny
and
because there
while
were
it would
certain
have
wrestlers
it
that no
really
matter
ended
who
up in
you
a
put them
brawl
with,
right at the end with
you're going to have a good
unofficially
team.
four
Ken
participants
Lucas
involved.
comes to mind.
It was
Dutch Mantel
studio
comes to
full of
mind.
action in
There are
here.
certain
The
wrestlers that
Japanese
were
team
just
of
Swiss Army knives.
Ruthie and
Bobby
Anita.
Eaton. You could put Mudslap with Bobby Eaton, and it would be a good tag.
Southern Tag
So,
Champs
I always sort of admired the guys that were the Swiss Army knives that could literally do it all. And we're seeing a couple of them in this ring as of right now.
Adam has a good comment that he wrote in our private chat. We discussed this, how the show being live altered history so many times, and that's true. Speaking of history, this is the original Nightmare tag team. The person on the ring apron is Danny Davis. My fellow classmate, class of 1980, Jonesboro High School, who a year later decided he'd have a family life, which I never did, and get out of the wrestling business. David Oswald is the tag team partner of Danny Davis. Of course, we had other partners, including Ted Allen, and then, of course, Ken Wayne.
Nightmare number 2 started.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. So that's David Oswald in the black trunks.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No doubt about it. He had the wrist lock.
Richard is talking to you, Michael, saying Brad Armstrong was reliable and dependable too. People wonder because he's one of the greatest baby faces ever, I think. But a lot of times on his promos, his personality didn't come out. But I know from personal experience in the dressing room, Michael, he had more personality than just about anybody I've ever seen.
And respect. A lot of respect. Just FYI, I am not seeing the comments on screen, Randy. They normally show up on a sidebar here, but I have not seen them all night for whatever reason. I'm seeing the private chat, but I'm not seeing the comments.
Now I'm seeing on the right side, and Adam, knowing that, will put up what Richard Hood says on the screen. All he does is go to the chat and click on it, and it puts on the screen. Yeah, I think we've had more feedback than we normally do. It's been real good, Michael, and I hate it that I don't have explanation why you can't see it.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. I will say this: I'm watching Danny Davis sell in this match, and that backflip a minute ago, and then this one right here. I mean, Danny master at selling.
Oh, geez, Danny was so good. And I can see the chat, Michael. I don't know why you can't. There's a button down at the bottom, or a click where you can click on chat. At least that I can see. And when I clicked on that, the chat came up.
Well, I just went back from regular screen to full screen, and I'm still not seeing it. And I don't
You're not seeing the chat button on the top right?
No, sir, I'm not.
It's an interesting day. We saw actually from the inception of his professional career to watch Robert.
The only button that I've got on my screen says leave.
Okay, we don't want to do that.
Is that a suggestion?
No.
I was thinking a few minutes ago when he ducked under on one of those elbows of the Nightmares. There's shoulders down. Robert trying to hold him there. Count of one is all he gets.
Good tag by Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Awareness of being in the right place. That was good.
Come and experience and anticipation to be able to make that kind of move.
Uh-oh, miscommunication between the Nightmares. Danny David Oswald.
Number 2 in was Dutch. He whips him into the rope. Whoa,
nice.
I don't think he got it.
Only a 2 count. Yeah. 8.5 minutes gone.
Boy, this match is just racing along.
It has been action.
Robert, big body.
Yes, sir.
You know, this is proof that you can have an action-packed match without doing somersaults and as high spots off the top rope and 29 finishing moves before you really get a finish. I mean, this is sort of textbook professional wrestling right here.
And how much conversation or walkthroughs did you think these four guys had?
No, none.
None.
In or out of the ring. I mean, they're calling it in the ring. All they know is the finish and how long they want to go.
When his partner was in trouble, we're referring to nightmare number 1. On the rope.
Yeah, somebody in the chat says they're working Calhoun in this match. I was just thinking that, Jerry Calhoun's running all over the place.
Number 2, number 1.
He was a great referee, no doubt about that. I love Jerry Calhoun.
Backdrop. There's a cover. 1, 2, and Dutch gets out of it.
You know, as referees go, and thinking about what you guys just said, Jerry never got the heat from the fans that a lot of referees get and got. I mean, he was so professional in the ring that even when he was caught in a referee out of position thing, you never heard a lot of ire from the fans about Jerry, but you would hear it about other referees.
You're absolutely 100% right on that.
Tar and feathering Jimmy Hart. They really covered him up.
The only, besides Jerry, one of my favorite guys refereeing was a guy that I really think the world of is the late great Ronnie West. I thought Ronnie was an incredible referee.
This was, as Rusty remembers, the main events almost at every TV5 show was an expiration of time tag team. It could be 1 fall, 2 falls, or 6 falls, just depending on how much time you had. And this is a lot of action and a lot of time for this match.
I was going to say, they're just going. There's no slowing down to this.
Nightmare number 2 was trying to set himself for a super.
They're working. They're working, guys.
They are.
He broke up that effort. And again, you see him. You see Dutch blocking. And Dutch, successful, snaps him over.
Richard Hood saying Teddy Long and Nick Patrick were great referees as well. Al says Ronnie West did a lot of Mid-South work and Georgia Championship Wrestling work and Nick Goulas work.
Right. I will agree with Nick Patrick. I never thought Teddy Long was that great of a referee. Thought he was a better heel.
Yes, I agree.
So what do you guys think about Tommy Young as a referee? You know, Flair has called him often his favorite referee ever. I never really got that. I mean, I thought he was okay, but I thought Jerry Calhoun was at least as good.
I don't think Jerry Calhoun wanted to travel outside the Memphis territory, and I think that had he done that, I thought he would be a tremendous referee and wherever he goes. One of the worst referees I ever worked with was Rocco Lukic, who after his days, and he made so many faux pas in Dallas when we were doing the shows. ESPN used to get on him all the time. But a great wrestler, but didn't transfer over to being a referee.
Very interesting stuff, and that was an exciting match. And even though it wasn't Rick and Robert Gibson, which I wanted it to be, but that was great, man. I'm glad I got to see that. And we did go with a next picture, and we're going to run through these because we have 2 more matches to take a look at. And I wanted this to be an hour-and-a-half show, and we're not going to make that right now. By the way, Al Tuttle saying, I grew up watching Tommy Young, always liked him. I never got Earl Hebner. I thought he was overrated. And because Michael can't see the comments, I'm trying to read them here. As we go to 5292, 5292.
Well, is he talking about Earl Hebner, or is that a twin brother? Because you couldn't tell them apart.
That's true. I really don't know there. And Adam, can you find, as you see there, and man, we've talked a lot in this show about the Rock and Roll Express originated started their career and then was put together by Jerry Lawler with help from Jimmy Hart of the Rock and Roll Express, Rick Morton and Robert Gibson, a great tag team in the 80s. And the very last slide that we have, very last slide we have today is the best team of the 90s, babyface wise, PG 13. So we talked about heel tag teams when we picked our favorite heel tag team of the bunch, and now it's time for us, before we show these two remaining videos, is pick. And of course I am biased toward PG-13, gave them the push and that sort of thing, but I'm going to have to say a tie for best babyface tag team. This territory, the tag team capital of the world. I will name two, and I'm not going to say which is one and which is two. They were both great. I am going to pare it down to the threesome of Tojo Yamamoto, Jackie Fargo, and Jerry Jarrett, and then it's either them or Stan Lane, Steve Kern, the fabulous ones. And with all the tag team, babyface tag teams that we talked about today, whether it was Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown, Fargo Jarrett, and Tojo, Doug Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert, any of the Gilbert combination, Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Marlin, Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Rocky Johnson, Bill Dundee, Lawler and Idol, the Gilberts, any combination again. Certainly Rick and Robert Gibson, and PG-13. So that's the list that we've covered today on Talking Memphis Wrestling. So your favorite, Dr. Robinson, of the babyface tag teams, or if I've left out somebody, I might have left out Dennis Hall and Ken Lucas. I don't know. I might have left out a lot of people. What would you say as your favorite babyface tag team of all time?
Man, I got to go with the fabulous ones on this one. You know, I think they had an impact, like I said, largely on female fans that had never been seen before. Not even Jerry Jarrett and Tojo and Jackie Fargo had that kind of impact on their female fans. So it increased
You're wrong about Jerry Jarrett. You're wrong about Jerry Jarrett in Louisville, Kentucky. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Those people were crazy, but
I'll buy that.
I wanted to get that out there. So you say the fabulous ones, right?
In Memphis, it was the Fabs, no question.
Michael St. John, best babyface.
I agree with the Fabs. You're absolutely right on the Fabs. But my second favorite babyface team was Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton in the Rock and Roll Express. And again, along that same line, they drew a lot of young people into the business, a lot of young ladies into the business. And they were a different style of team. They were small, they were quick, they were flashy, could do a promo out of this world. I'm not so sure that Ricky and Robert's promos were not equal to Stan and Steve's, but I think the aura of Stan and Steve and the aura created around them would have to be my cast vote for number one based on that. Not only could they work well in the ring, but that aura that was built around the Fabs. And of course, you got Fargo behind them as the cement, if you would, pushing them. So the Fabs number one, Rock and Roll Express number two.
Very good thoughts. And the audience, as Corporal Porter says, Fabs hands down. The Fargo push, the outfits, a similar look, the videos, Brawl with the Moondogs, Ricky and Robert walked in the road paved by the Fabs. Because here's the thing, the Fabs were first, the rock and roll type of thing. The Rock and Roll Express drew more money in other places than the Fabs did.
Yes.
They drew money, record business for Bill Watts, and also they were over on TBS with Jim Crockett Promotions as well. So you're exactly right for sure to think that. The Rock and Roll Express tour were great in Carolinas under Jim Crockett Promotions. Eye of the Watcher says, Al Tuttle says, Robert Gibson was kind of like Bobby Eaton. He didn't talk much, but he sure could wrestle. Somebody, and Adam, if you can go up on the chat and find the gentleman, I don't know exactly who said it, maybe our Fort Smith, Arkansas person, when he was talking about the new fabs. Jerry Lawler fired the Fabulous Ones in 1983, and Al Pollard from Fort Smith says, not the new Fabulous Ones, LOL. Then later on he said, two great talents, but they were put in a bad spot. They were following the Fabulous Ones. Jerry Lawler created a new Fabulous One tag team after he fired the Fabulous One, Stan and Steve, Tommy Rich and Eddie Gilbert, and this was in 1984. This is a partial part 2 end of the match. This is a wild and woolly match. Your second favorite play-by-play announcer, Michael, of all time, is doing the commentary. I don't think Michael would agree with that, but it's my show, and I can say any dang thing I want to say. 3 minutes, 54 seconds for Michael St. John, who is going to identify the announcer for those of you that don't, and I think I'm doing a pretty big hint there, but 3:54. Adam.
Yeah, that's Freddie Miller doing it commentating.
What?
Who?
Oh, we know that is Randy. Yeah, we know.
I don't think William does.
Freddie
I
Miller
didn't
was
at first. Now I do.
I get it. Freddie Miller's the only guy in wrestling ever that got ever announced, the only ever announcer I've never got along with.
Hell, this is the typical Mid-South Coliseum brawl back in that backstage. This was hard to call because they separate and they were up on the stage. I could see that. I stood up on the table, Michael, to watch
I was going to
that.
say, how did you even see that, Randy? That would be out.
Yeah, stood up on the table. But the other two went on the other side, and I couldn't keep up with it all because this was edited together afterward, and there was two camera people. I could not see that camera. Michael, if you remember, you at the Coliseum matches, you were calling what you saw. You did not have a monitor.
That's right. You did not have a monitor, and that was, and so if they got out of your visual range, you had to go with what the crowd was reacting many times.
All right, so was that Eddie and Coco Ware, I believe?
Yes.
And then this is Tommy, and I can't tell.
Norvell,
okay.
Norvell also.
This is just a hell of a brawl. This is almost as action-packed as some of the concession stand brawls we saw, Michael.
Yep, and then they get on stage, and actually the crowd, except for the crowd above them, can see them.
That's pretty good commentary of somebody that couldn't see the action, Michael.
Pretty good commentary, period.
Memphis had the most electric crowd out, was sold out. On a normal week-to-week basis, I would say Louisville and Nashville was tied. Do you agree with that, Michael?
I always thought that Memphis had the most rowdy crowd. I always thought that Louisville's crowd was drunk, and I always thought
Nashville's was too.
Well, Nashville's would ebb and flow. I mean, there would be times we'd have great matches and the crowd would be dead. And there would be times we'd have shitty matches and the crowd would be on fire. So the crowd in Nashville sort of ebbed and flowed. Louisville was drinking a lot, and Memphis, I think, had the best wrestling fans, pure fans, in the arena, without a doubt.
Now, do you guys remember there was a biker gang in Memphis that used to routinely come to the matches at the Coliseum on Monday nights? And they always sat in the same place, it seemed like.
Yes, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And it was great. My favorite fan of all time in Memphis, Michael, you will remember the legendary Miss Lily Butler.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And religious wrestling fans. And every town had them. And in Nashville, there was a gentleman I met in Nashville. I can't recall his name. He was an older gentleman from the time I started. And he had a little notebook, and he kept it in his little pocket here. And after every match, he would write down the result. And at one time, I thought, well, maybe this is the guy stringing for the newspaper, because the results would be in the paper the next day. But I come to find out it was Nick and somebody in the office that was writing that. And this guy, I was talking to him one night, and it was before the show began. And he'd been coming to the matches. He started coming when they were at the Hippodrome, and was still coming to the matches in, like, I want to say this was 82, 81, 82, after Nick had gotten out of the territory and Jerry was running it. And he was there every night. And I asked him about him taking notes, and he said, I've got I've got notebooks, I've got shoe boxes of notebooks, and I've got every result of every match I've ever watched. And I was wondering, God rest his soul, I'm sure now, wonder what happened to those, because those would be very valuable to a wrestling historian.
That would be terrific.
Right now. But he had a pencil, and he wrote it down in the little top binded book, and just every match.
Oh, man.
Memphis wrestling fans were so important. We're coming to the end of the road on this show, even though we have a 15-minute, 58-second thing, because I think it's appropriate to set this up now as being the last sellout for wrestling for a Memphis promotion at the Mid-South Coliseum, maybe for any promotion, even though in the later days, WCW and WWF, Al Pollard says, wouldn't that be awesome to find those notebooks now? And again, I'm reading everything I see because Michael can't see them. But still, when we're talking about Memphis and we're talking about the last sellout of the Mid-South Coliseum, at the end of the year 1985, Bill Dundee defeated Jerry Lawler in a loser-leave town match, because you can't miss them if they're not gone, and they thought it was time. And Bill Dundee had just came into the territory after being in Louisiana and had a great booking run, and he was the booker, and Jerry Jarrett was obviously very involved in the booking as well. They did that. Business went way, 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 way down with no Lawler, and they shot the famous angle with Jeff Jarrett as a referee, and then they brought Lawler back. This was a complete sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum. This is a 15-minute plus video of the last sellout ever at the Mid-South Coliseum. This is 1558. Bill Dundee, Buddy Landell, Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantell. Our last video of the show on Talking Memphis Wrestling this week, and then we'll come up to wrap it up, our final takes and all that good stuff after we watch this classic sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Nature Boy, Buddy Landell, And brother, let me tell you something. The Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee is rocking and rolling with this exciting action. Lawler and Mantell fired up, Lance, and they hit that ring steaming.
Boy, I'll tell you, smoking is exactly right. Bill Dundee and Buddy Landell tried to grab an edge, but Lawler and Mantell came in there.
How about the excitement level of this match, Rusty?
Oh man, this was revved up. I remember that. I did not see. I was going to say I did not see this live. I left for New Orleans at that point, but I've seen it since then, and I saw the build-up. You know, when Jeff Jarrett was beaten up by Landell and Dundee in the ring, and Dutch
as a referee. As a referee.
As a referee, yeah. He was, Jeff was probably 17, 18 years old, something like that. Dutch runs out of the shower. He's still got like wet hair and stuff, and he rescues Jeff. And then he gets on the telephone in the during Saturday morning and calls Lawler and says, "We got to have you, Lawler." And that's what brought Lawler back to the ring, back to Memphis after being gone for. On the suspension for the loser leaves town. It was a great setup. You know, and Buddy Landell, boy, he was good at that time. I think he was the star of that team with him. And as good as Dundee was in that setting, I think Buddy Landell was really the best part of that team. You know, and I guess Buddy had like problems with being reliable and substance abuse and things like that. But boy, he had some ability.
Buddy Landell was Buddy Landell's worst enemy.
Physical size,
no doubt.
But he has gone berserk, absolutely. And I still think the analysis was correct. He thought he had everything his way. Somebody came back in here and it was going to challenge him a little bit. He had to fall in eye with Mantell, and he can't stand it. Just can't stand it. Jerry Lawler in, Buddy Landell crawls through.
I appreciate all the feedback from everybody and talking Memphis Wrestling tonight. I've loved the show. It's good to have Dr. Robinson back. Pat Trammell returned to the show. He is on
a
sabbatical with friends
Dundee looking around
place and having he's probably not behaving too much. But this is a great match to see and a great part. You can imagine all the sellouts at the South Coliseum. This was the very last one ever for a Memphis promotion.
You know, another story I remember associated with this, not necessarily this match, but the whole kind of story, was when on Saturday morning when Jeff got beat up in the ring and they got the telephone out to call Lawler, that Dutch was going to call Lawler. Coach Crone from Christian Brothers High School was seen bringing the phone in, and Lance kept talking to Bob, can you get this phone going? And you would see Coach Crone walk in, set the phone up, and try to hook up the wires on set. And those of us who were from Christian Brothers, you know, got a big kick out of that.
On the match, having a look out for Dundee and Landell, Randy.
Doc, I never knew you were Christian Brothers
saying, "Oh, I could beat him just."
That's me. Coach Crone was my baseball coach.
If I wanted to.
I got you. Speaking of that two-lane
in the middle of the ring. There's a tag on the Dutchman, who grabs Landell's arm and rips him. Can assure you.
You know, we talk from time to time about wrestlers that are underrated. Buddy Landell, had he not sabotaged his own career, would have been one of the best that ever came down the pipe, in my opinion.
I think if he wouldn't have showed up, he missed the television at WTBS, and he was out partying, and that day they were doing I've heard, Bill Dundee told me, they were going to put the world title on Landell against Flair in a TV match, and he was screwed up and didn't show up.
Yeah, Jim Cornette has told that story also. That in fact, Jim, I think it was Jim that said he went by Buddy's apartment and said, "Buddy, you got to get up and come to TV." And Buddy said something like, "Oh, I can't make it, man." And he didn't show up, and then he was fired shortly thereafter.
Yeah, Dusty fired him almost immediately.
You know, I know Bill Dundee really liked him, and he made several comebacks into this territory because Dundee would just talk him back into it, if you would.
True.
Jerry cuts him off as he was going to tag Dundee.
And when you think about it, Buddy had all the check mark. He checked all the boxes that you would want with a professional wrestler. He had the look, he had his physique, he had the talk, he could sell. I mean, he could do it, and for that, it's sad.
Yeah, it's one of the sad stories.
Doesn't respect themselves.
One of the sad stories, not only in Memphis wrestling history, but in professional wrestling history for sure. And certainly, this is a hell of a match that we're seeing. Dundee misses, and Lawler, I was fixing to say he's about to pull the strap down, but not yet.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
We were anticipating. Yep. I wonder if the dark side of the ring has ever looked at Buddy Landel for doing a story on him.
You know, that would be a classic one. And I don't think they have done one. I don't know if they tried to or not.
I don't think they're doing a series this year, Randy. I haven't seen any promo or haven't heard any talk out there about them doing another series of it this year.
They've done so many stories, but maybe they can't get video rights to Buddy's career. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Busted wide open. Good night.
Another one is the Sheik.
True.
Going after that eye, trying to close it again.
We've got less than 8 minutes of action in this match, and the people packed the crowd at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, and they're giving it to them.
Randy, and this is off subject of this match, but I meant to ask you this earlier last week. But WWE was in Memphis. Was it last Monday night?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the first show I had seen where Lawler did not make an appearance. Was that by design?
You know what? I don't know. I can't answer that. I just know that he posted that some on Twitter. I don't know if he appeared in front of the audience, but he was there.
They busted Dundee wide open, Randy.
Okay, because they didn't have him on camera.
He hurt that eye about a week ago, something like that.
Al Tuttle says, I've seen where they plan on doing the Big Boss Man as one of the upcoming episodes for Dark Side. I think the Landel story, you got a winner there, Michael.
Absolutely.
I agree, Randy. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Randy.
Rips him hard. Dundee coming over and hits him right through the roof. Slammed into the desk. Lawler and Mantell bashed from behind, fighting back with Dundee. As Dundee slams the Dutchman's head into the steps.
This is certainly what you want out of a crowd reaction for a major angle and a major return, because the people wanted this bad, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
You got that right, Randy. And I love where Dundee is coming up with new tricks.
Taking that rope from the
the new tricks to come up in this match as well.
You know, the cardio these guys had to have to be able to pull off a match like, because they're racing around. They're not slowing down. This is one move directly into another. So these guys were definitely in shape.
Face being gouged by Dundee.
I can't tell you how many times in the locker room after these kind of matches you would see the boys and they would just be spent. I mean, just wore friggin' out.
Yeah.
And they gave it all. They gave it all.
Bill.
There's no doubt.
Ooh. Rip.
Here we come.
Look at those punches, people. I want everybody watching this to look at those Dundee punches.
Here comes Landell from behind. Bill's got a chain.
Oh, he knew that was coming.
Landell. Lawler ducked out of the way.
And Landell gets used.
Look at it, King go.
On the chain.
Dutch. All four of them in the ring. Landell busted open by the chain from Dundee. Lawler banging away on Landell as Dutch and Dundee are up in the crowd. The King.
Look at these punches.
Slams Landell. He is bleeding all over. He is really
good camera work by Ken Parnell and my friend Randy
Dutch
West.
brings Dundee back.
And Michael's friend Randy West.
Amen on that one.
Dundee covered with blood.
Now Dutch Mantell takes that down his straps, Rusty.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Open where
so cool.
Dundee hit him with that chain trying to hit Lawler.
Dutch had more body hair than I think any other wrestler I ever saw other than Pompero.
Dutch holding up Landell for Lawler. And as Dundee comes back in.
Have you seen Dutch's podcast he does these days? He's still got that crazy mustache. It's as big as ever.
Dundee goes.
Dutch had been ill for a while. I hope he's doing better.
I think he is.
He's still doing his podcast, and he seems to be completely with it and enjoying it and, you know, telling the stories and all that. So at least he is mentally, he's with it.
Down on the deck. He's out on the concrete.
Dutch telling stories. Hell, he's been lying all his life.
In the middle.
Boy, look at the juice. That's a good color with Landell and that blonde hair, boy. Look at that.
Bill's getting back a little of what they gave to Jim Jamison. Here comes Dundee. Pitched out of the ring, and look at Landell. He's saying the referee's
stopping it.
Landell is covered with blood. Lawler is bleeding.
Stopping the match because I don't think Buddy can continue. The match is stopped. Lawler and Dutch Mantell are the winners of the match.
Dundee going after referee Jerry Calhoun, who stopped the match because Landell was bleeding so bad.
Ooh.
And Dundee getting his head hammered on this desk. Landell soaked with blood. Smashed by Lawler.
So Landell gets the desk now.
Buddy's taking it with his head. Bill took it with his hands.
The bout is over.
Yeah.
What was the time, Randy? Not that it makes one bit of difference.
12:45.
12 minutes, 45 seconds. The battle goes on. Dundee and Landell leaving. The winners, Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantell, as the referee stops it because Landell was bleeding so bad.
What a wild, wild ride we had today on the February 21st version of Talking Memphis Wrestling. I've loved this show. Last take time. Here's first Dr. Rusty, the Blues, Dr. Robinson. Last take.
Oh, this was great. This may have been my favorite show, Randy, seeing all those tag teams like that. And particularly that last match, the last sellout in Memphis, which as I said, I did not get to see that one live because I had already moved to Louisiana at that point, but that was terrific. You mentioned all the punches that were so realistic and all the blood, I guess 3 out of the 4 were bleeding, just what a great, fun story that was. So thank you so much, Randy, for doing that for us. This may have been my favorite show.
All right, Michael St. John, we're rounding third. We're headed to home.
Doc, love it. Love it, Doc. When you're on the show, you give a fan perspective, and that's an awesome perspective. Very good, my friend. Randy, I think the last 2 weeks you've made a very valid and proved a very valid point in that the Memphis territory was the kingpin of championship wrestling tag team divisions during the period, all the way through the period of the territories. In my humble opinion, and I think you share this with me, and Doc, I think you've been convinced now that this was the hotbed of tag team wrestling. And tag team wrestling always, if you would, drove the car, drove the limousine. And I think the last 2 weeks, what we saw in the heels, what we saw with the babyface matches tonight, I think sort of proves that.
No doubt about it. Do you have a last take? And I have some added information because Al Tuttle says, I know this was the last sellout, but the crowd the next week was at least respectable, and we'll cover that in a minute after Michael St. John's last take.
No, I love the show. I agree with Doc. I think this week, Doc, I know you watched the show last week. The last week's show was really good as well. So I think this series of shows we did on the tag teams is very poignant and really proved a point. So my salute to the owner, operator, controller, founder, publisher, whatever, Randy Hales on this, and a great job to Adam Dunn as well. And Adam has been a blessing to me, by the way, in recent weeks. So a great job as always with Adam.
Very good. And we'll do it again with Pat returning next week. March the 3rd, 1986 drew 11,300 people. The very next week, March 9th, 1986, with the same main event, did 10,208 people. March 17th did 10,000 people. The next week, March 24th, 1986, did 11,300 people. That Lawler and Dutch Mantell beat Buddy Landell and Bill Dundee in 48 minutes and 57 seconds of a Texas death match. We'll try to show highlights of that next week. Then the March 31st crowd was not listed in that, and so several weeks in a row there's none. But there's about 3 or 4 weeks over 10,000 people, and that is a success. Michael, was anybody in the country doing that weekly anywhere in the world?
Not weekly. Yeah. I think that was very, very strong. Very, very strong.
Thanks to Adam Dunn. Rusty, it was good to have you Saturday, and it's good to have you. Congratulations. You're going to be a grandpa again in that baby shower coming up. Michael St. John, you're a gentleman. You're a scholar, and whenever Adam pops in around, don't let Adam get in trouble. Don't let him. I can't afford to lose Adam Dunn, so keep him out of trouble whenever you see him. Will you do that?
Absolutely, and he has done a fabulous job for us here at Fun Radio. The thing that's been most endearing to me is that Archie Anderson has been the voice of ARAP since 1974, and is a great guy, but you got to get to know him before he likes you. And of course, my wife, she's a very good judge of character right off the bat. And from the time he walked in the door at the radio station, he had them both wrapped around his fingers. So, that's a testament to Adam and the kind of person he is. And congratulations. I know that he's getting bigger and better things going on in his life as well. And he's a great guy. Nobody deserves it more.
Absolutely, positively, 110%. For Michael St. John, for Dr. Robinson, for Adam Dunn, for the disappearing Pat Trammell, I am Randy Hills. This is Talking Memphis Wrestling, and for all of us, good night, everybody, for Talking Memphis Wrestling.
You'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.